Jack Harrison stared out the viewport of Centauri Station. The blue-green glow of the nearby nebula cast shadows across his tired face. 50 years had passed since humans joined the Galactic Council. 15 of those years, Jack had served as Earth's main representative, and for 15 years, he had smiled politely while the older races looked down on humanity. "Counselor Harrison, the emergency session begins in 10 minutes, said his assistant, Maria. Jack nodded, straightening his dark blue uniform. "Another day of being ignored," he muttered. The council chamber was a huge room with seats arranged in rising circles. At the center stood the speaking platform. Jack took his seat in the human section, far from the central power seats held by the ancient races. The Vexari counselor, Genta, floated to the center platform, his 6 limbs moving gracefully. His skin shimmered with that typical Vexari superiority. "We gather to discuss the Proxima Centauri evacuation," Genta announced. The mining colony faced complete destruction. Thanks to quick action, most lives were saved. Jack leaned forward. This was the mission where human ships had arrived first, saving thousands of aliens while the Council's official rescue fleet was still preparing to launch. Though the human response was enthusiastic, continued Genta, their emotional approach caused unnecessary damage to infrastructure. The Council fleet would have saved both the people and the valuable mining equipment. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. Jack's hands tightened into fists. Genta continued, "We appreciate Earth's help, but perhaps next time they should wait for those with cooler heads and more experience." Jack stood up before he could stop himself. "Earth requests speaking time," he said loudly. The Vexari looked annoyed, but nodded. Jack walked to the center platform, feeling the eyes of 100 alien species on him. When the distress call came from Proxima Centauri, Earth ships were ready to launch in minutes. While the Council debated proper protocols, our captains were already saving lives. His voice grew stronger. "We lost 3 human ships in that rescue. 28 brave men and women died saving people who weren't even from Earth." Jack looked around the chamber. "For 50 years, humans have contributed to this council. Our technology runs your stations. Our soldiers die in your wars. Our doctors heal your sick. And what do we get in return? Contempt, dismissal, lectures about our emotional responses." The Luthian counselor interrupted. "Humans are young. You must learn patience." "We've been patient for 50 years, Jack replied. "We've given blood, ideas, and resources to this council. Meanwhile, you treat us like children who need supervision." He pulled out his communication device and placed it on the platform. "I just received a message from Earth President Olivia Benson. As of this moment, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. "This is highly irregular," shouted Morak's war chief Cruel. "There are procedures for withdrawal." "We've filed all necessary documents," Jack said calmly. "You'll find everything in order. Earth and all human colonies are no longer under Council jurisdiction." "This is an emotional overreaction," Genta said dismissively. "Exactly what we expected." Jack smiled for the first time that day. "Perhaps, but it's our decision to make." He turned and walked toward the exit. The other human representatives rose and followed him. "The human delegation will depart Centauri Station within 24 hours, Jack announced without looking back. "We're going home." As the doors closed behind them, the council chamber descended into chaos. Jack's steps felt lighter than they had in years. Maria caught up to him in the corridor. "Sir, do you think they'll try to stop us?" Jack shook his head. "They don't think they need us, Maria, but they'll learn differently soon enough." Behind them, the first cracks in the Galactic Council had already begun to form. Admiral Lisa Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship, defiant, watching as the last human transport left Centauri Station. On the main screen, she could see the massive wheel-shaped station growing smaller as the human fleet prepared for the jump back to Earth space. "All ships report ready for departure, Admiral," said the communications officer. Lisa nodded. "Send the message to all captains. We're going home. As the fleet of 50 human vessels activated their engines, Lisa couldn't help feeling a mix of pride and worry. The withdrawal had happened so quickly that many details remained unsettled. "Do you think we're making a mistake?" asked Captain Frank Miller, her second in command. "I think we're finally standing up for ourselves," Lisa replied. "The Council needs to learn that humans aren't just their servants." On Centauri Station, Alan Wright adjusted his camera drone as it hovered above the main promenade. As a reporter for Galactic News Network, he had a front-row seat to history. "This is Alan Wright, reporting live as the last human ships leave Council space," he said, speaking directly to viewers across thousands of worlds. After 50 years of membership, Earth has withdrawn from the Galactic Council in what many are calling an impulsive decision. Alan watched as alien beings gathered around public screens, their reactions ranging from confusion to mockery. A group of Vexari merchants laughed loudly. "Humans always were too emotional," one said. "They'll come crawling back when they realize how much they need the Council's protection." Alan continued his report, moving through the crowded station. Early reactions from Council races show little concern over humanity's departure. However, some experts question how this will affect Council operations. He approached a Luthian engineer who was frantically working on an open panel in the station wall. "Can you comment on the situation?" Alan asked. The Luthian looked up nervously. The humans ran the main communication networks. Their engineers left instructions, but some systems are already showing problems. 2 weeks later, in the Grand Council chamber, the Morax war chief Cruel pounded his fist on the table. 3 colony ships have reported navigation failures. The human-designed systems are becoming unstable without their updates. Genta, the Vexari counselor, made a dismissive gesture. "We managed before humans joined the Council. We will adapt." A young Tellurian representative spoke up. "Perhaps we should request human technical assistance during the transition period." "Absolutely not," Genta replied sharply. "We will not beg humans for help. Our engineers are fully capable of replacing their systems." On the human colony of Nuterra, Greg Palmer watched the news reports with interest. Unlike most humans, he had chosen to stay behind, working as an independent contractor on the neutral trading world of Boros. "They still don't get it," he told his alien roommate, a friendly Novan named Kip. "Humans didn't just provide technology. We provided innovation." Kip nodded, his blue skin reflecting the light from the screen. "The Council races are too proud to admit they relied on humans more than they realized." Greg pointed to the news, which showed a Vexari colony ship being towed to a repair station. "That ship's using navigation systems I helped design. Without regular updates, the star mapping will become outdated within months." "Will they figure it out?" Kip asked. Greg shrugged. "Eventually, but not before things get worse." In the President's office on Earth, Olivia Benson listened to Jack Harrison's report. "The Council is publicly dismissing our withdrawal as unimportant," Jack said. "But privately, they're scrambling. Their ships, stations, and colonies all use human technology that they barely understand." Olivia looked out the window at the sprawling city of New Washington. "How long until they feel the full impact?" 6 months, maybe less," Jack replied. "They don't realize how dependent they've become on our innovations, our security protocols, our medical advances." "And when they do realize?" Olivia asked. Jack smiled. "Then they'll have to decide what matters more, their pride or their survival." 6 months had passed since humanity's departure. Greg Palmer wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked on yet another broken system. The neutral trading world of Boros had become a hub of desperate activity as Council worlds sought help from any human technician they could find. "That's the 3rd communication relay this week," Greg muttered as he reconnected wires inside the panel. His Novan friend Kip handed him tools as needed. "They're offering triple the normal pay now," Kip said. "The Luthians can't figure out why their networks keep crashing." Greg laughed without humor. "Because humans designed these systems to learn and adapt. Without our updates, they're trying to solve new problems with old solutions. A shadow fell across them. Greg looked up to see a Vexari merchant, his silvery skin dulled with stress. "Human, I require your services," the Vexari said, his usual arrogance replaced with urgency. "My ship's life support is failing. I can pay well." 6 months ago, this same merchant had laughed at humanity's departure. Greg pretended not to remember. "I'll look at it after I finish this job." On Centauri Station, the council chamber was no longer a place of calm debate. Shouting filled the room as representatives argued over dwindling resources. "The medical nanobots are failing across 3 systems," cried the Tellurian representative. "Hospitals can't treat patients without them." War Chief Cruel slammed his fist down. "Military communications are unreliable. My ships can't coordinate defense patterns." Genta, the Vexari counselor, who had once dismissed humans so easily, now looked tired and worried. "We must find solutions. Our best engineers are working day and night." A junior Luthian scientist spoke up hesitantly. "The human systems are too complex. They built their technology to work together in ways we don't fully understand. When we fix one problem, 3 more appear." On the edges of council space, a Morax patrol ship drifted silently. Inside, the crew lay dead, their ship's defenses easily bypassed by pirates who had exploited gaps in the security protocols that humans once maintained. It was the 12th such attack in a month. In a research lab on Earth, Dr. Nicole Yang reviewed reports from beyond council space. As a xenobiologist who had studied alien species for decades, she could read between the lines of the news. "They're trying to reverse engineer our medical nanobots," she told Jack Harrison, who now served as advisor to President Benson. "But they don't understand the biological compatibility protocols we designed." Jack nodded grimly. "And their defense systems falling apart," Nicole said. "The automated responses that prevented most pirate attacks need constant updates. Without them, ships are vulnerable." Jack stared at the reports. "People are dying because of our departure." "People died when we were there too," Nicole reminded him. "But the Council never valued those sacrifices." On the frontier world of Epsilon, Greg Palmer watched with growing concern as strange ships appeared at the edge of the system. His scanner, a human-made device that still worked perfectly, showed an unknown configuration. "Kip, are those Council ships?" he asked his Nolan friend. Kip's blue skin paled. "No, those are Kelthoran scouts. They've never come this far into Council space before." Greg felt a chill run down his spine. The Kelthoran were an aggressive insectoid species that had threatened the borders of Council space for centuries. The human-designed defense network had kept them contained. Until now. "We need to warn the Council," Greg said, rushing to the communication terminal. But when he tried to send the message, the system returned an error. The faster-than-light communication network, once the pride of human engineering, had finally failed completely. "They're testing the borders," Kip whispered. "They sense weakness." Greg looked at the ships on his scanner, slowly spreading out in a hunting pattern that human military strategists would have recognized immediately. "It's not just systems failing anymore," Greg said quietly. "Without humans, the Council has lost its ability to adapt. And now the predators are coming." In the darkness of space, the Kelthoran ships moved forward, sensing that the time to strike had finally arrived. 1 year after Earth's withdrawal, the Kelthoran attack began. They struck without warning, their insect-like ships swarming 3 border worlds in a single day. Council defense forces scrambled to respond, but without the coordinated systems humans had maintained, their efforts were scattered and ineffective. Commander Diane Foster stood on the observation deck of Outpost 7, a human colony just outside Council space. The emergency signals had been coming in for hours. "Another distress call," Commander reported her communications officer. "The Tellurian colony on Gamma 6 is under attack. They're requesting any assistance." Diane frowned. Gamma 6 was only 2 light-years away. If the Kelthoran take that system, They'll be right on our doorstep. She turned to her second-in-command. Prepare a report for Earth Command. The Council is losing this fight. In a hidden laboratory on the Luthian homeworld, Dr. Karen Miller analyzed the fragments of a Kel-Foran ship. As one of the few humans who had married into a Council species, she had stayed behind when Earth withdrew. The weapons' signatures are unlike anything we've seen before, she told the gathered Luthian scientists. They've evolved their technology significantly in the past year. An older Luthian shook his head. Without the human early warning systems, we had no idea they were developing these weapons. Karen carefully examined the strange metal. My husband used to say humans were valued only for our strong backs, not our strong minds. She looked up at the Luthian scientists. Now you need both. In the Council chamber, now damaged from a recent attack on Centauri Station, War Chief Krull addressed the remaining representatives. We have lost 7 systems to the Kel-Foran. Our fleet is in disarray without proper coordination. His voice was rough with exhaustion. I never thought I would say this, but we need the humans back. Genta, the Vexari counselor, who had once mocked humanity, nodded slowly. Their military strategies were effective. Their technology worked in ways ours does not. We must send a delegation to Earth, suggested a Tellurian representative. Ask for their help. Beg for their help, you mean, Genta said bitterly. After we dismissed them for so long. The chamber fell silent as the reality sank in. Pride had blinded them, and now survival was at stake. On Earth, Jack Harrison was teaching a class of young diplomats when the news arrived. A Council delegation was on its way to Earth. President Benson called an emergency meeting. Admiral Lisa Chen, Jack Harrison, and the Joint Chiefs gathered in the war room. The Kel-Foran have destroyed 3 Council fleets, Admiral Chen reported. At their current pace, they'll reach human space within 2 months. President Benson looked around the table. Options. We can strengthen our defenses, Lisa suggested. Protect our space, and let the Council handle their own problems. Jack shook his head. The Kel-Foran won't stop at Council borders. If they conquer Council space, they'll be stronger when they reach us. We need to stop them farther from home. So we help the Council? President Benson asked. After everything. Jack stood up and walked to the map of galactic space projected on the wall. I propose a third option. We don't rejoin the Council. We offer specific, limited assistance on our terms. What terms? Lisa asked. Terms that ensure humanity will never be dismissed again, Jack replied firmly. The Council delegation arrived 2 days later. They were led by the Morax War Chief Krull himself, his proud bearing diminished by recent defeats. Jack Harrison met them at the spaceport, seeing the desperation in their eyes. Welcome to Earth, he said formally. I understand you have a proposal for us. Krull looked at the human who had once sat far from the center of power in the Council chamber. Now that humans stood as Earth's voice, while the Council races came as supplicants. The Galactic Council requests Earth's assistance against the Kel-Foran threat, Krull said, his voice carefully controlled. Requests. Jack raised an eyebrow. Or needs. Krull's expression hardened, then collapsed into resignation. Needs, he admitted. The Council needs humanity's help. Without it, we will fall. The meeting room in Earth's government building fell silent as President Benson reviewed the terms. On one side sat the Earth delegation. On the other, the representatives of the Galactic Council looked uncomfortable in Earth's higher gravity. Let me be clear, President Benson said. Earth will help fight the Kel-Foran threat, but we will not simply rejoin the Council under the old terms. War Chief Krull nodded stiffly. What does Earth require? Jack Harrison slid a document across the table. Equal representation on the Council, veto power on military matters, and public acknowledgement of humanity's contributions. Genta, the Vexari counselor, bristled. This is outrageous. The Council has traditions thousands of years old. And those traditions led you here, Jack replied calmly. begging for our help. Lisa Chen spoke up. The Kelthoran have destroyed 5 more systems while we've been talking. Time is running out for everyone. The council members exchanged glances, then Cruel nodded reluctantly. We accept your terms. 3 days later, a small team of humans prepared to return to Centauri Station. Jack Harrison would lead the diplomatic mission. With him were Steve Martinez, a systems engineer, Dr. Nicole Yang, the xenobiologist, and Commander Ryan Cooper, a military strategist. I never thought I'd go back there, Steve said as they boarded the ship. Nicole checked her medical equipment. They need us, but that doesn't mean they'll respect us. They'll respect us this time, Ryan said firmly, or we walk away again. Jack looked at his team. All of them had served the council before. All had been ignored or dismissed despite their contributions. This time will be different, he promised. When their ship docked at Centauri Station, they were shocked by what they found. The once gleaming hub of galactic civilization showed signs of battle damage. Emergency lights flickered, and whole sections were sealed off. A nervous Luthian escort led them through the corridors. The Kelthoran attacked the station directly last week, he explained. Our defenses barely held. In the council chamber, the full extent of the crisis became clear. Only half the usual representatives were present. Many worlds had already fallen or lost contact. Genta formally welcomed them, his usual arrogance replaced by desperate hope. The human delegation is recognized by the council. Jack stepped onto the central platform, the same spot where he had announced humanity's withdrawal a year earlier. We come to help, not to gloat, Jack began. The threat to the council is a threat to all intelligent species, including humanity. He gestured to his team. We've brought experts to address your most critical needs, but understand this, we work as equals, not as servants. While Jack handled the politics, his team went to work immediately. Steve Martinez found the main control center in shambles. Your systems are operating at 20% capacity, he told the Luthian engineers. We need to rebuild the entire network. In the medical wing, Nicole Yang examined patients injured by Kelthoran weapons. Their weapons contain a biological component, she discovered. That's why your treatments aren't working. Commander Ryan Cooper reviewed the battle reports with War Chief Cruel. You're fighting them the wrong way, Ryan explained. Kelthoran think collectively. You need to target their command structures, not just their ships. As the humans worked, whispers spread through the station. The humans were back. Things would improve now. On the 3rd day, an alert sounded. A Kelthoran fleet had been detected heading toward a major Tellurian colony. In the command center, council military leaders argued about how to respond. Jack watched as Ryan Cooper stood silently, waiting to be acknowledged. Finally, War Chief Cruel turned to him. Human, what would you suggest? Ryan stepped forward and pointed to the tactical display. We don't have enough ships to beat them in direct combat, but we don't need to. He outlined a plan using minimal forces to disrupt the Kelthoran communication patterns. Cruel studied the plan, then looked at Ryan with new respect. This is not how we would approach battle. That's why it will work, Ryan said. They expect you to fight like you always have. Cruel nodded slowly. Prepare the defense force. We will follow the human strategy. Jack smiled to himself. It was a small victory, but an important one. The council was finally learning to listen. The battle for the Tellurian colony was over in hours. Following Commander Ryan Cooper's strategy, the council ships had attacked in patterns the Kelthoran had never seen before. Instead of facing them head-on, the smaller fleet had disrupted their communication network and targeted their command ships. Victory at minimal cost, War Chief Cruel announced in the council chamber. The human strategy saved thousands of lives and preserved most of our fleet. For the first time, applause greeted a human achievement. Ryan nodded modestly as representatives from a dozen worlds acknowledged him. Jack Harrison watched with satisfaction. One battle won, but the war continues, he reminded them. The Kelthoran will adapt. Then we must adapt faster, Genta said. The Vexari counselor had changed in recent weeks, his dismissive attitude replaced with a new respect for humanity. In the engineering hub, Steve Martinez worked side by side with alien technicians. His hands moved quickly as he rebuilt the central defense network. "This is why your systems fail," he explained to the Luthian engineers. "You're trying to make everything follow fixed rules. But the galaxy doesn't work that way." He showed them how human systems were designed to learn and adjust. We build flexibility into the foundation. When something new appears, the system adapts instead of breaking. The Luthian chief engineer watched in amazement as Steve's changes brought long-dead systems back to life. "We have been working on these problems for months without success." Steve smiled. "Sometimes you need fresh eyes, a different perspective." In her makeshift laboratory, Dr. Nicole Yang made a breakthrough. She had been studying Kelthoran biology for weeks, searching for a weakness. "Look at this," she told the alien scientists gathered around her. "The Kelthoran communicate through chemical signatures. Their ships use the same principle." She displayed a molecular model on the screen. "This compound disrupts their ability to coordinate. It won't kill them, but it will make it impossible for their fleet to work together." A Morak scientist shook his head in wonder. "We fought the Kelthoran for centuries, yet never discovered this vulnerability." "You were looking for a way to destroy their ships," Nicole said. "We looked for a way to disable their advantage. Different goals lead to different discoveries." 1 month after the humans returned, representatives from all council worlds gathered for a special session. The chamber was filled beyond capacity as Jack Harrison took the central platform. "Today we vote on the new Charter of Species Rights," he announced. "This document guarantees equal standing for all member species, regardless of age or origin." Genta floated forward. "As the most senior council member, I speak first." The room fell silent. This was the moment of truth. For thousands of years, the Vexari have guided this council. We believed our age gave us wisdom. Genta paused. "We were wrong." Murmurs filled the chamber as Genta continued. "Wisdom comes from many sources. The humans have taught us that new perspectives bring strength. I support the new charter." Jack could hardly believe his ears. One by one, the other representatives voiced their support. "The charter passes unanimously," Jack announced. The chamber erupted in cheers. That evening, Jack met with his team to celebrate. "I never thought I'd see this day," Nicole said. "Actual respect from the council. They needed to lose us to value us," Ryan observed. Steve raised his glass. "To humanity's return." "Not just our return," Jack corrected him. "Our recognition." As they celebrated, news arrived of another victory against the Kelthoran. The tide was turning. Back in the chamber, a new symbol had been added to the Great Seal of the Galactic Council. Alongside the ancient emblems of the founding races, Earth's simple circle and star now held equal prominence. The humans had left in anger. They had returned with strength, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 months after humanity's return, the final battle against the Kelthoran approached. Their main fleet had gathered near the star Proxima Centauri, the very place where the conflict between humans and the Council had begun. Admiral Lisa Chen arrived from Earth with the full human defense fleet. As her flagship docked at Centauri Station, she was surprised to find a welcome party of Council leaders waiting. Admiral Chen, War Chief Krul, greeted her with a respectful bow. "The combined fleet awaits your command." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "My command?" Genta nodded. "The Council has voted unanimously. You will lead the final assault against the Kelthoran." In the command center, Lisa studied the tactical displays. Representatives from 12 species worked at stations around her, all following her orders without question. "The Kelthoran have gathered their forces here," she explained, pointing to a cluster of enemy ships. "They expect us to attack directly. Instead, we'll use Dr. Yang's chemical disruptor." She outlined her plan. Small, fast ships would deploy the compound around the Kel foreign fleet, disrupting their coordination. Then the combined forces would attack from multiple directions. They think as one mind, Lisa told the gathered commanders. We will show them the power of many minds working together, but thinking independently. War Chief Cruel nodded with approval. A strategy only humans could have devised. The battle lasted less than a day. The Kel foreign ships, unable to coordinate, fell into confusion when the chemical disruptor took effect. The combined fleet attacked with precision, using tactics developed by Ryan Cooper that emphasized adaptation over brute force. On Centauri Station, Jack Harrison watched the battle reports with President Benson, who had arrived for the formal peace ceremony. It worked, Jack said with relief as the last Kel foreign ships retreated. Their invasion is over. President Benson smiled. And a new era begins. 1 week later, the Great Chamber of the Galactic Council was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from every member world had gathered for a historic event. Jack Harrison stood at the center of the chamber. After a year of conflict and cooperation, his journey had come full circle. Today we not only celebrate victory over the Kel foreign, he announced. We celebrate a new understanding between all intelligent species. The chamber erupted in applause as Junta floated forward. The old Vexari, once so dismissive of humans, now addressed Jack as an equal. The council recognizes that our greatest strength lies in our differences, Junta said. For too long, we valued only age and tradition. We failed to see that innovation and adaptation are equally important. He turned to face the assembled representatives. Today, we elect a new High Counselor, one who will lead us into the future with wisdom both old and new. The vote was taken. Jack Harrison was elected as the first human High Counselor in the history of the Galactic Council. 6 months later, a young human diplomat named Sam Evans arrived at Centauri Station for his first assignment. As he stepped off the transport, he was greeted with respect by aliens of various species. Welcome, Diplomat Evans, said a young Vexari aide. High Counselor Harrison is expecting you. Sam followed the aide through the station, marveling at how humans and aliens worked side by side. In the rebuilt engineering section, Steve Martinez was teaching a class on adaptive systems to students from a dozen worlds. In the medical wing, Dr. Nicole Yang led a team researching cures for diseases that affected multiple species. When Sam reached the High Counselor's office, he found Jack Harrison looking out at the stars. Sir, Sam said nervously, I'm honored to serve under your guidance. Jack smiled. The honor is in the work itself, not the title. Remember that. He gestured to the view of ships coming and going from the station. Humans walked out because we weren't valued. We returned because we were needed. Now we stay because we belong. Sam nodded, understanding the responsibility that came with his new role. Welcome to the new Galactic Council, Jack said, where every voice matters, including yours.